Hello, Lindsay Elliott here. Lindsay, that's me, from Lindsay Elliott Coaching. I'm just going to do a short video today about anxiety and our ability to cope. So one of the things that I noticed quite a lot in myself and also with clients and friends is that we can hold a lot of anxiety about what might happen in the future. So, you know, whether it's getting ill, losing a loved one, a relationship ending, our children being unhappy, losing a job, having money problems, whatever it is that we may fear happening in the future, fearing that thing can create a lot of anxiety within the body and within the mind. So if that's you, or when you experience that, because I think it's a pretty normal human thing for the mind to go into the future and to worry about what might happen. And obviously the first thing to notice is that it's happening and that it isn't useful. But what I also find really helpful to reflect on, and I'd like to suggest that you reflect on that also, is the resilience that we have within us, that I think can help when that anxiety about the future comes up. So what I notice about all human beings that I know is that when difficult things happen, when challenging things happen, our ability to cope with those and to settle with those is inbuilt within us. So difficult things that have happened in my life, such as a divorce and miscarriage and various other things that have happened, that have been really challenging at the time, really difficult to experience. What I notice when I look back is that I have settled down about those things, my mind has settled down about those things, and over time they are things that I have coped with and actually moved on from. And I'm sure that if you look in your own life, that if you are here listening to this video, you are alive, you are still here, you are breathing. Even if you don't feel great, you're still here and you're keeping going. And that's because it's designed within us, our ability to cope. So if you think back about something difficult that you've had happen in your life, you will see that at the time that it was happening, it was at its most intense, and that over time, slowly, your perception of it has changed, your thinking about it has changed, you may have seen something different about it, or you've just settled down about it. You've learnt for it to be something that either you have completely come to terms with or that you just learn to live with. And the living with it is something means it comes up occasionally in your mind, in your consciousness, but that's okay. And you feel the feelings when it comes up at the time. But so in terms of relating this to feeling anxious about the future, is I find it very reassuring within myself that if I find that my mind is going into the future and into its wild imaginings about what might happen, if I reflect back on what I have already settled down about, what I have already coped with, I know that that resilience is within me to cope with whatever the future may bring. Even those worst fears, you know, things like losing a parent or something happening to my child. Because I know that within the human system, we are designed, our thinking and our perception about things that we experience changes over time. And that happens all by itself. There isn't anything that we have to do to make that happen. Now, we can sometimes help ourselves along the way by going to see someone for some healing or some coaching or some therapy, or just talking to friends, you know, getting a different perspective. But what I know is that all of the healing that has happened within my own life and all of the adjusting to things that have happened has come because my perception of it has changed. And that isn't something I've had to force. That's something that has just come through me and to me as part of my resilience, that my perception of things has changed. The perception of the event has changed. So for example, when I got divorced, at first it was traumatic, it was awful, it was a shock. And slowly but surely my perception of it has changed because my thinking about it has changed, and I've had insight, and the healing has come from the insight when I've seen where I'm now to the point where I feel nothing but gratitude to my ex-husband for having ended the marriage. Now that's a really long, that process took a while, but it's still a process that I didn't have to force, it just happened. It's part of the design, part of our human design. So if you find yourself worrying about the future a lot, it could be really useful for you just to spend a few moments reflecting on what have I already learned to cope with? What have I already come to terms with? Even if you haven't 100% come to terms with it, you'll see that it's easier than it was, or there's times that it's easier than it was. What have you already settled down about? What have you already seen differently? Where has your perception changed of an event or a circumstance that has made it easier? So I hope that's helpful. Just seeing that our ability to cope and our resilience is absolutely within all of us, part of the design, part of what we're born with, because we're all working the same way. We've all got this ability for insight to come, for seeing something differently to come that changes entirely how we feel about it. Okay, have a beautiful day. Thanks for listening.